周一長談同大家深入時事話題。前一排我哋嘅話題講咗幾次㗎啦，就係我哋參議院加拿大參議院嘅改革問題。而家喺最高法院俾出佢哋嘅意見，就係任何嘅改革都要經過全國各省都要同意先得，所以基本上係不可能嘅任務。所以我哋而家呢個風波平靜咗之後，我哋不如回復翻最零點開始，就係我同好多媒體，中文嘅媒體、西人嘅媒體，我哋都傾過，就係發現一樣事情，就係大家對於參議員佢每一日係做緊啲乜嘢嘢嘅，我哋實在係好陌生、好唔清楚。所以今日咧好高興請到一位退咗休嘅，記住啦，退咗休嘅講嘢比較自由啲，退咗休嘅參議員。係我哋 BC 省選出嚟嘅參議員，今日嚟到你先同我哋講下參議員日常生活佢哋忙緊啲乜嘢嘢，同埋佢對於曾經提出過嘅方案、改革嘅方案，佢嘅睇法又係點呢？所以 Welcome Senator Austin.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is really a great honor.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, today because I've talked to some the media, Chinese or English, and find one thing very interesting. They can criticize the Senate, they can criticize senators, and they have a lot of suggestion of what the reform is. But when I ask them, do you have any idea, share with me, what's the life of a senator? What's their job on a daily basis? A lot of people doesn't know. So today, firsthand, can you share with us what is a day in your life as a senator?
Well, a day in the life of a BC senator,
Yes.
is flying to Ottawa Monday morning, working Monday night through to Friday, and then flying back to Vancouver on Friday.
Wow.
So it's traveling 7,000 miles a week to represent British Columbia in the Senate, because the original and current work of senators is to represent their provinces or their regions. And so we have in British Columbia 6 senators.
Yes.
And they are appointed by the Prime Minister under our laws. They're technically appointed by the Governor General on the advice of the Prime Minister, but the Prime Minister makes the choices. So currently you have in Ottawa 3 Conservative senators, 2 Liberal senators, and 1 vacancy. So British Columbia has 6 senators. To represent British Columbia, we are the furthest away province from Ottawa.
Yes.
It requires a great deal of energy and effort. And British Columbia is a very big place. And it has a very wide variety of interests, from Prince Rupert to Prince George to Fort St. John, or down to the Okanagan or into the East Kootenays. And of course the Lower Mainland. It's a very diverse province with diverse interests.
So in that 2 days in a week that you're in Vancouver, you will have to travel a lot.
Well, you spend one day, Saturday usually, and Friday night, in constituency work, speaking to groups, meeting people. You meet people with problems in Ottawa who want you to know what their situation is. They want you to try to help them. And Sundays in my life was reserved for my family.
Wonderful. And I'm happy that you did that. But when you talk about constituents, like MPs or MLAs, they have very clear constituents and people know who to go to. Do you have a lot of people coming to you when you were a senator?
Quite a few, but I tried when there were Liberal MPs, and of course I'm a Pierre Trudeau Liberal from way back. I was Chief of Staff to Pierre Trudeau. If the work is immigration, if it's individual issues, then you try to have the members of Parliament elected in the House of Commons to do that work.
You will refer it over to them.
Yes, and all parties who have senators, only the Conservative Party has senators. The NDP have always refused to allow any NDP member to be a senator. They want to abolish the Senate, so they can't be inconsistent.
Yeah.
But for Conservatives and Liberals, basically, you want the individual person to be known to the MP. Every so often there's an election. And so serving the individual interests puts the MP in context with the voters, if you like. But I could, as a senator, do exactly the same work. It's just politically better.
So what are the questions that, or the issues that you take on yourself?
Well, basically, they're big policy issues. The senators are more a policy advisory group. They're not exactly like the CPPCC in China, but they're somewhat like that. The difference is that the CPPCC doesn't have a legislative role. It's purely advisory. But what people don't understand is that the Senate has almost equal legislative power as the House of Commons in Canada. So we have what we call a bicameral legislature, two houses. So a law can start in either place except for one exception. If it spends money, it has to start in the House of Commons. The Senate can change it, but it can't start a bill that spends money. But apart from that, all legislation in Canada goes to the two houses.
But in practice, we don't hear too many other acts or projects that comes from the senator. Is it getting less and less?
No, there's always 4 or 5 government bills. And the senators can also introduce their own private bills, just like the MP can introduce a private bill. Right?
Now, what is the most, impress yourself and also impress us, what is the most the memorable act or projects that you have presented to the Senate of OBC?
Well, basically, it's like asking me to choose amongst my children which one I like the best.
Okay.
But I will tell you that one that comes to mind very quickly was the Nisga'a Final Agreement. Okay, now the Nisga'a Final Agreement, we have many Aboriginal communities. The Nisga'a are up in the northwest of the province. And they were prepared to enter into a land settlement agreement with the province and the federal government. And the nature of the agreement gives the Nisga'a municipal lawmaking power in their territory, a real precedent, a real breakthrough. So I was asked to carry that legislation through the federal parliament. And it took me 6 months to get it passed. It was very contentious. And I was very pleased that we finally passed it. So that's one illustration. And another is the so-called Charter of Rights and Patriation, Mr. Trudeau's major legislation in 1981-82. And I served for more than 6 months as his representative on the joint House and Senate committee to hear witnesses and make recommendations. That was a major role.
Now, you mentioned that a lot of time you can go beyond the scope of MPs, the political power. So the sober second thought has always been a very attractive way. When I do my research, I remember at 1885, the Chinese Immigration Act, which was today we keep on apologizing to it, but at that time, according to the Senate's record, the senators were fiercely protecting the Chinese and didn't want it to pass until the government at that time has used some very tricky way to do it. And so that kind of a second sober thought, can you share with us, are there a lot of resistance or pressure?
There's a lot of examples. There's a lot of examples of the Senate resisting the government of the day. There's an issue in popular democracy as it's practiced in Canada or Britain or the US. And the issue is, if you go back 150 years when the Constitution was being designed, the issue was that the people who were what you would call the moneyed classes, they owned property, businesses, moneyed classes, were worried about giving the vote to people who had very little or no property and who were just laborers and workers. Because if you gave them the vote, they would vote to transfer the money of the property class to themselves. They would destroy wealth, in other words.
That was over a century ago, so not today.
Correct. Well over a century ago. Yeah. So the idea was that the Senate would, to use the expression of the day, be the saucer in which the hot tea would cool. So that the elected people would be under pressure to make laws in a hurry, and they wouldn't think it through because voters wanted this.
And it's very political polarized.
Yeah.
And more into political fighting than trying to find the right thing to do.
So the senators, because they were independent, once you're appointed in our current system, you have the job till you're 75. Nobody can get rid of you unless they pass a bill, a law.
So, well, we have come to the time for our break, but you have raised some interesting point. I will definitely follow up on that on our second half of this program.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.